It is Monday. It is July 14th, and this is the DLLS Stars podcast as we are deep into the offseason. Thanks for joining us here today alongside Craig Ludwig and soon to be joining us, Sean Shapiro. I'm Owen Newkirk. In fact, I think Sean will be here for the start of our next segment, so we'll have to just do the first one without him. He had to.
Does anybody start or be here on time anymore?
Yeah, not until we're back in studio, Luds. Although. Yeah. I'm back in town, back in Dallas, flew back yesterday from upstate New York. I will be in studio for our next show on Wednesday, so a couple of days. And by the way, speaking of which, shout out to our very own permanent member of the infirmary, Sam Nessler. He is out sick today. I hope he's back tomorrow. Maybe he'll be back Wednesday. We don't know. Luds, it's always a bad sign when you get the summer sickness.
I wonder, was he get frequent flyer miles for any of that kind of stuff? Or how did somebody just pick him out of his house in a limo and bring him in? Or was it work like no?
You mean like 2 ER trips? You get the third one free?
Yeah. I mean, you should have you should have a pass.
Maybe he has a permanent residence at the hospital.
Yeah, they got a wing named after him now.
Oh, poor Sammy. Our own little intrepid beat writer is not available today because he's under the weather. So we hope he feels better. It looks like Harry on the chat has said Sam is turning his back on the fans again. There you go, Lud. So they just don't feel it. Hey, speaking of the fans, what a day we have today. Oh, by the way, Elijah Smith is our producer as usual. So say hello to Elijah in the chat. He is here running the controls. The Stars have announced that there will be hockey in just about 2 months, as we got the release today that the Stars training camp for 2025, which will be held in Frisco at Comerica Center, will begin on September the 17th, which is 65 days from today, meaning on the horizon, although for those of you enjoying your summers and trying to get some off time, maybe not too fast. And the first preseason game will be a home game on the 20th, a Saturday, September 20th, 6 o'clock Central Time start against Jim Montgomery's St. Louis Blues. So let's start with the obvious. This is, and we'll get into the game schedule in just a minute. Actually, you just saw it. Thanks, Elijah threw that up there. But if you're now a player on this roster, you're Glenn Gulletson, new head coach of the Dallas Stars, Neil Graham, David Peltier was just added, Elaine Nasruddin, Jeff Reese, the whole gang. What do you want to see, Luds, from this group, from this coaching staff, for their first Dallas Stars training camp, which is coming up in just over 2 months?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is less games, which will kick into the following season, apparently.
Next year.
Yeah. Yep. You know what? You're not looking so much from the veterans. Again, they're going to do testing and things like that. They're all come into shape. So you're keeping an eye on a couple of the young guys, a couple of those high prospects. You want to see where they're at, although they're going to know a little bit about them earlier too. They're going to see them on other things going on this summer. But I think you want to see what they can do, against some competition, not just because, your first days of camp are, inter squad things, and they may have 3 different groups out there and they'll get some scrimmaging in. I think after a couple of days of scrimmaging against your teammates and all the young guys, you kind of want to play an opponent so you can eventually get to some point where you can start unloading on some other people. Not that there's a lot of unloading going on, although we are hoping for 1% more from each player.
That's right.
So they could start there, and just see if there's any of them. I mean, they're going to try to find out, is there a player that deserves to play 5 of those games, or 4 of those games? And then is there a player that, we keep around for the first week or 2, or prior to that, 10 games? They got to send them back after the 10th or before the 10th?
If any of the junior kids, yes.
Yeah. So if there's any of that kind of stuff, otherwise, you know what, you're trying to get through the camp without any ridiculous injuries. Anybody pulling, the key guys pulling any grinds or, tweaking something, and you just want to make sure everybody's healthy and everybody's chomping at the bit. So typically you're going to get your veteran guys will get in 2-3 pre-games at the most, and so the other stuff is all looking at the young players.
What about from a X's and O's standpoint? What will you be looking for, knowing that when Gully was on our show, which feels like forever ago, but I think it was a week and a half ago now, he talked about altering some things. Didn't want to reinvent the wheel with what Dallas has done. Said they're a good team. We don't want to change everything, but he does want to make a few alterations. And you said to us afterwards, you kind of had a feeling that he has some ideas of things he'd like to change, whether it's forecheck, neutral zone, D zone coverage, that kind of thing. Will you be walking tightly in preseason and in training camp to see if they start doing that?
Oh, they'll have some guidelines. You're not going to sit in there and get into details and things like that. Like I said, they just want to see him play to start with. But he did mention the D zone, and so for me, you're going to see like 2 or 3 things in place. From the neutral zone, you get, when you don't have the puck, there'll be some positioning kind of pieces where they want them to be. And then on a forecheck, you're going to see some kind of a forecheck, one guy on the puck, maybe another guy down the opposite wall, guy stays high, however he decides to do that. But for me, I'm going to be looking to see what happens in the D zone. We know everything the way that they played for the last couple of years. And he did say that he's got some tweaks. But another thing that he mentioned is he had 2 or 3 different looks. So that I'm always interested in, because I think that you should be able to have, and it's not hard for your team. I don't care if you're 18 years old now or you're 38, you can tweak it in game. You can say, because you're going to go over it in practices. And as we know, there aren't nearly enough practices for coaches. So some of it you just have to learn on the fly.
Well, that's an interesting thing you bring up. In today's modern NHL, right, Luds, this isn't, you have to have one set system to play, and you can't vary from that. It has to be, hey, we're going to play man on man, and that's it.
Yeah.
Can today's sophisticated teams and coaches and players, can they handle a hybrid where they go in and out of a couple different looks to confuse and keep the opponents guessing a little bit?
You can definitely have again. Yes, you can. To answer your question, it should be easy for these guys, and they're not going to have 7 different. This is not a football team. This isn't how your scheme is, and you've got 35 different plays from scrimmage and whatever else they're going to do. This game is in motion, and you ultimately want to get it to where you don't have to think, you just react. I know that with Hitchcock, when we had him and I had Bob Gainey and guys prior to that, we just did things religiously over and over in practices. And ultimately, when you start getting into game 40, game 45, and everybody kind of gets onto the same page, you can see it come together. And not only that, is you can tell, like on a forecheck, F1 goes here, F2 is here, F3 is there. It's like clockwork. But then again, we've got I don't want to say a figure skater for a coach up as the eye in the sky, but he was a current figure skater, Peltier. Yep. But he's going to pick up things too. He's going to see things where there's another opponent or whoever, they've changed something in game. So you just go back to, a certain forecheck or a certain way you want to play in your D zone, all those kind of things. And again, for me, I love it that he wants to come in and do those things through the regular season all the time and change things so that when you get into the playoffs, you can change when you want. It's not going to be sitting in there trying to figure something else out. But again, on the other side of that, you're going to play opponents quite a bit during the regular season, and so you see each other. And so there are some things that as you get closer to that game 83 and you have to play somebody that you're probably going to play in the playoffs, you probably won't see how they're going to play. You're going to see a little tweaks here and there so that they can maybe surprise you or something like that in the playoffs, and vice versa.
So before I get to the game schedule, we want to talk about the games real quick, but hockey's different than football in many ways. One of them is you probably aren't hiding, like football in the preseason, they don't show a lot of their schemes. They don't show a lot of their playbook because they don't want regular season coaches to be able to go to work on it early, right? They want to wait to show their secret plays if they have to, or whatever they're going to do once the games matter. But because lineups are always mixed and you rarely until towards the end of preseason get close to your opening night roster, is it tricky for coaches to not be able to run full systems with full lineups because of how preseason games are used as far as who plays and who doesn't?
I don't think it is, because now what are there? 22 players, maybe 23 at the most.
Yep.
So everybody's going to kind of be familiar with it. There might be something, where you're going to have to insert a player tonight, tomorrow night, and it may be one of those guys we're talking about. Give somebody an opportunity to play, and that's one of the things that they want to know. Can that kid, so to speak, can they adapt to it? Everybody that's at this NHL level, at least the guys that have played in the NHL, they're here for a reason. They can think going, 17, 18, 19, 20 miles an hour. And again, that's why I think you try to take a lot of the thinking away. A lot of these systems aren't that difficult. And if you execute, you believe you've got a chance to win, because if everybody just does their little job, but it's more about the areas of the ice. You always got to be above the puck. You want to be on the right side of it. I'm speaking defensively. And so guys don't get trapped too low. And that's what creates outnumbered rushes going back. And to me, that's where some of the issues always kind of start. Outnumbered rushes going the other way, knowing how you're supposed to play a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2. What shots do you give to the goaltender? You let them keep it on the perimeter, which that didn't always happen last year. Sometimes they're coming right down Main Street. So I think your odds are a little bit more in the favor of the goaltender, as long as he doesn't have to make those 10 bell saves over and over again.
If you had to guess, because this team played so much man-on-man, would you think that there probably will be a scenario where we see the Stars playing man-on-man, even if it's with a wrinkle or, in and out? Like, could you see them switching between some sort of layered zone down low to that man-on-man because it's so, drilled and trained into this team?
I think you can play like a hybrid.
Yeah.
And so when teams are entering the zone, and I think, and that's one of the things, hey, Dallas did it really good last year. Like on zone entries, they suppressed a lot of shots because they went. But then what happened was, if there was any sustained kind of time in the zone, and I mean like 5-10 seconds or whatever, when they got into the cycle, that's when I think you've got to be able to kind of call yourself off every once in a while. Because we spoke about this quite a bit. A defenseman will lock onto somebody in the corner, and that same player from the opponent may move the puck, or he carries it out above the top of the circle, and they get this where they're just going to kind of cycle and try to run little picks. Nobody ever see. I just think you go to a certain area as a defenseman, you don't get past the top of the circles. Sometimes for me, I wouldn't get above the hash marks, and as a defenseman, I'm talking about. So now
would you then just if you're doing a hybrid, would you just let them go at that point if they get that?
Yeah,
high?
you switch off. If he wants to start to go out higher in your defensive zone, just check him off to the forwards. That should be down low and tighten things up in the middle. I'm a numbers guy. I want 5 players in the same area where the puck is all over the ice. And to me, last year, there were times when the puck could be to the right of the goaltender, and there would be a left winger would be standing over by the left defense or their right defenseman. Now you just open up so much space in the middle of the ice, and when people jump into there and to make that pass, he's coming right down the middle of the ice. So if you bring more people closer to the puck, it's more difficult. I mean, we've seen all the good teams. You watch Florida do it, Edmonton. I mean, they have a lot of players that are in the same area, and it's the same way offensively. There's safety in numbers, and there's strength in numbers. And so ultimately, if you spend a little bit more time in your defensive zone than you want to, but you keep things on the perimeter of the ice, you don't open up quality scoring chances, as you pick out all the time in games in the middle of the slot and all those areas. That you can sit there and you can buy some time for yourself and make them make the mistake, or find the right time that you can put a little more pressure on.
Let's take a look at the game schedule real quick. Preseason games are announced. The first one will be on September the 20th, which will be a home against St. Louis. You can see they're going to do a 3-team home and away as they typically do. St. Louis, then Minnesota on the 23rd, and then home against the Avalanche on October 4th. In between that, they travel to the Wild on the 25th, Colorado 27th, St. Louis the 30th. Luds, this is usual. It's usually geographically local, so that's normal. I think we've seen the same 3 teams for preseason for a while now, and it's really all about not having to do 4, 5, 6 hour plane rides when you have a preseason game, because that really doesn't really benefit anybody.
Well, and you're playing every day. Matt,
Yep.
you'll play 2 and 3 and all those kind of things. So yeah, you try to keep it easy, and you'll fly out the same day of games too. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
so they'll have maybe 3 groups and 2 groups of scrimmage. The other team will play, and so they'll get game like things in. So yeah, and again, that's where things get jumbled because you're going to see a bunch of different players and a bunch of different positions playing with different people all over the place. And then when you start getting down to about 3 or 4 of those games to go, I'm a big fan of, you get into 3, 4 at most games away, you start putting your lines together. I want to see guys that I expect to play. Who's Radek Fox going to play with? If let's just say he's playing with Beck and Maverick Bork or
Blackwell
or Blackie, whoever it's going to be.
Yep.
Let them play their last 3 games together if they need to be, and let them get that chemistry going. And if you're going to do it in practice, do it in games. And so we'll see. I mean, Gully may have a completely different way to go about it. And listen, when you're Glenn Gullickson and you're coming in here and you have 2 of the best players in the world, he's learned a lot of things from those guys. And he's probably learned some things off the ice and the way that they think and go, oh yeah, because all these guys can think pretty much at the same pace. It's just their God-given ability makes them elite players, and Draisaitl and that other McDavid guy.
Well, hit that like button on the thumbs up on the YouTube page if you're watching live. And of course, don't forget, subscribe. But up next, Sean will join us. We have to talk about a buddy of ours who had a pretty big weekend right here on DLLS Stars Podcast.
Well, here's a buddy of ours. Just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home team needs a flooring advantage, and that's Empire Today can help. Empire Today, dedicated to flooring professionals who focus on flooring and every single day of the week. Empire Today lives and breathes flooring, and they're with you every step of the way. It's a whole different ballgame. Get your measurements taken and have all your questions answered so there are no surprises. With Empire Today, you get a clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule an installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners, you guys receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. That's right, $350 off with code DLLS.
Thanks, Luds. Let's talk about game time. Why? Well, of course, obviously, everybody that is a sports fan, it's not just about watching it from home, although that's very comfortable. It's also it's experiencing. Hockey's better live. Well, we know that the FIFA World Cup games, the Club World Cup, are over now because Chelsea surprised PSG over the weekend. But guess what? There's going to be a World Cup in the U.S. next year. There are NFL games coming up in the fall, only a couple of months away. As we saw, NFL games will be starting. Stars training camp will be getting underway on the 17th, and you need to be in person for these games. What do you use? Use Game Time. Go to the website, gametime.co, or download the app, Game Time app. Use Game Time Picks. It helps curate the absolute best opportunities, best prices. You can get tickets faster, easier, even the hard-to-get playoff seats. And, of course, you can get last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guaranteed because it takes the guesswork out of buying tickets to NFL games, NHL games, playoffs, you name it. Last-minute tickets and zone deals. You can save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. You have all-in pricing. Toggling this feature, of course, is so great because you see exactly what you're going to pay. No surprise fees at checkout. I love the panoramic views on the seat views so you can see what you're getting before you buy, especially if you're new to that stadium or venue. And, of course, you can get tickets for sports, comedy, theater, concerts. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app. Create an account and use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Hey, Luds, what time is it?
It's game time.
All right. And we welcome in the third member of our show today, at least the third healthy member of our show today, Sean Shapiro with us. Sean, we were just talking about preseason and training camp, and I wanted to give you a quick moment because Luds gave us a lot of detail of what he wants to see, some of the stuff in camp from Glenn Gullickson and his new staff, and, of course, some of the limitations because the lineups aren't necessarily all your NHL team, and they don't play all 6 preseason games. But quickly, before we get into our Joe Pavelski ding conversation, What do you want to see from Glenn Gullitson's first training camp coming up here in about 65 days?
So first, I'd like to just see how the communication goes and how this team builds things out. That's the big one for me. How Glenn is going to connect with the group. That's a big thing. And obviously that's something that is hard for us to witness from the outside. That's going to be a little bit more of, they'll say no matter what the answer is going to be, best. I guarantee you at some point someone will say it's the best training camp they've ever had. So put that on the bingo board, and somebody will claim they're in the best shape of their life, and Glenn has connected with them unlike any other coach before. So I know that will be said. I just look forward to trying to learn exactly how true that is. So we'll have to make the bingo card of what's Luds can go through lies and BS meter for us. So I think that would be a fun game.
Our media filter.
Exactly.
With Luds. I love it. The thing that I'm interested in just from this perspective, because I think this is a team where going into camp, I think there are forward wise, cap wise, I think there actually are going to be like 3 to 4 jobs where people actually have chance to. And the thing that I would like to see from the organization. Are you talking about roster jobs or lineup jobs?
I'm talking more about like the roster. Like, I don't need to see Jamie Benn play a game. Like, right. Honestly, Jamie doesn't need to play a game. I don't need to see.
He'll probably play a couple, but
yeah,
right.
But I don't need to see. I would like. You've got your Becks, your Ritzkovians of the world. You've got those because an NHL roster has to go 15 forwards deep, right? I'd like to see those players play all 5. It's because it's 5 preseason games, right? Is it 5 or 6? I'd like to see all of those players play at least 4 preseason games. I'd like to that's what I would just be like, all right, if you're really gonna try to build this team out and let the best man win the job, I'd like to actually see a plan going in of like, hey, you know what? We're gonna let all of these guys in this group play. I don't need to see Jamie. We need to save Jamie's legs for the regular season. We don't need Jason Robertson doesn't really need to. What Jason Robertson doesn't really impact preseason in general. So show me the competition, create a culture of competition early on where the best guy's going to play, because we know contracts make most of the job, so try to do a little bit of that. That's what I'd look for.
Jamie might be able to hit all those bonuses if he just goes through preseason camp and then be back here January 1. Just take the rest of the 4 months off.
The winter off?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll give him a holiday break. All right, well, we'll have more as we get into September and talking about training camp. But right now, we wanted to celebrate a very good friend of the Dallas Stars and, of course, of our show, although we haven't had him on officially yet. And I'm talking about the guy that basically created drops with the ding, Joe Pavelski, who, thank you very much. Oh, Elijah was on top of that one. So Joe Pavelski was the winner of the ACC, American Century Championship Celebrity Golf Tournament in Lake Tahoe, winning and capping off yesterday. I don't know if you guys have seen it online, a stunning eagle putt to make it to not only win, because he was winning when he sunk that putt, but to emphatically put away the field. And he's never won this before. And the big question, and I thought it was really funny because Jimmy Roberts interviewed him right afterwards on NBC and said, did retiring from the game help you with your golf game? And he did admit he's playing more golf and working on it than he was when he was in season.
I thought you were gonna play a little sound from him or something like that.
No, I didn't pull that. We had a lot with Elijah going on today. I didn't want to give him more to do.
I talked to Joe about this. He won his first tournament like this about 4 or 5 months ago in the spring down in, I think it was in Orlando where he won it. I have to double check, but there was a LPGA amateur tournament where it was a celebrity type stuff come in, and Joe, that's when Joe won his first like semi-pro celebrity event. And I talked to him after that, and he told me obviously his big thing was his next thing was winning this American Century. And the American Century it's kind of he's been in the top 3, I think, in each of the last 3 years. And I know his buddy Matt Fornataro, who was his caddying for this, and I know Matt's the guy who has told me that, you know what, if Joe really puts his mind to this, to golf, don't know if he I don't know if he wants to put in the time to the time requirement to get his tour card, but he's got the talent to go and do it. And For those who don't know, like, so he shot a 70 eagle to finish. They use like a point system based off birdies and eagles and everything, but he shot a 70 for the round. So to give people kind of an idea for what what it was for the final score, I think he was below par all 3 days. And Joe, when he was playing in the NHL, was well known as the best golfer in the league. And I'm not surprised at all. And honestly, his golf game is one of the reasons that people would always be like, oh, Joe's going to be on this coaching staff or do this or do that. Joe has too many interests that involve golf that to ever want to get back into the NHL. And I think this is not going to Luds knows Pavs. This is one where it's going to he's won this one and now he's going to see what else he can win on the golf course.
Now the hunger is going to grow for him. Yeah, no, and you're right. You know, there's been all this talk about Joe, and I know that Jim he's approached it the right way. He says, "Hey, we're here. You just call us when you're ready." Because the more you ask, the further you're going to push a guy like that away. He obviously a great golfer. He's a big fisherman. You got to let him get that stuff to where he wants to be part of the hockey again, whether that's another year from now or 4 years from now. And I believe that door will be open for Joe whenever he wants. It's funny. I had a good friend of mine, both of ours, and so Jack, they're just 2 hours from here. Paz is down in Madison now, but anyway, Jack lives 2 hours from now. He sent me a message the other day, and he just said he saw that he won the tournament. The kid's quite a talent. Now he coached him in high school hockey. So, and Jack flies into Dallas and watches games and stuff with him too. So, yeah, he's a special human being, and we know the link there is between obviously Wyatt and some of those younger players. And it would be nice you talk about a guy that could be an eye in the sky. There you go.
Well, when Gullison was hired, I wondered if that opened up the possibility, but it feels too soon for a guy like Pavelski.
Get on the bench? Yeah.
Yeah, on the bench or eye in the sky, that kind of, especially because not only the golf, which, again, winning yesterday probably only makes him want to do more, as you guys said, but also his son is in those teenage years. I believe he's is he 13 or 14, I think, and I don't see, after Joe talking to us when he was still with the Stars and saying how important being a part of his son's hockey career growing up, until he's quote unquote out of the house, whether that means off at a junior team or college hockey or wherever, assuming that he continues to develop that way, I can't see Joe coming back to coach full-time in the NHL, or I guess for the first time, until he's no longer a day-to-day around his son.
Yeah, he's missed all those young years. I went through the same thing with my kids. I mean, he didn't even see them play in high school. You know, if you play long enough, you don't see them until they have kids sometimes. So, you know, he wants to spend as much. They'd argue that's the first time I saw him. They're not wrong. But no, I think he wants to spend as much time as he can, you know, and why not?
The other thing with Joe, and this is just the other reality that no one ever wants to mention, Joe's good money-wise. Like, let's just be clear. Like if you're used to working an NHL schedule and you're making $5-6 million a year to do it, like he was near the end of his career, that's pretty good. Eye in the sky coach. I'm not saying it's cheap. I'm just saying, unless you really want to get into the coaching racket and the coaching game, it's not like the eye in the sky salary guy makes a lot of money, right?
Yeah,
like
it's the extra $300,000 to him, right?
I
mean, and even if it is,
yeah,
you're right. He's at a point where he had a long and very healthy NHL career. Financially, that's not an issue. It's more about, does he have the fire to be part of the game? Because that's so much of a part of a lot of players that play pro identity that they can't really switch off because that's all they've known. But you guys talk about, I mean, we've seen the Instagram photos of Joe with these giant musky fish. And I thought that Jake Oettinger had a really funny comment, and one of them saying, way to change clothes to make it look like you've been killing it out there, holding up the same fish repeatedly. That's what his suggestion was. But you're right. If you're a guy that has lots of outside hobbies and interests from just playing hockey, and suddenly you're retired and you can do golf, hunting, fishing, working with your son, taking your wife on a trip or a couple more vacations, you might not want to be, or not have the urge to jump back into, because hockey coaching is all encompassing. It takes your entire waking life when you're in it.
And on top of that,
Go ahead, Sean. No, go ahead.
On top of that, like I looked at that picture of him hoisting that trophy. You could see like that was like you could like you can see the inkling in his eye of like, oh, there's a, I don't know whether it's him and I talked about a year ago or a little bit over a year and a half ago now before he retired, and he talked about at some point he'd really like to try to go win the Wisconsin Amateur Championship, right? Like him holding that trophy, that to me is that's the Pandora's box right there. You've won one. Now you can go
qualify for the U.S. Open.
Yes. That's Joe Pavelski golfer is I think more of the career path than seeing him behind an NHL bench formally. I think that's more realistic. So,
all right, guys, up next, we have a super chat to get to, and finally some video I cut 2 months ago. We're going to have time to talk about it next on the DLS Stars podcast. It's Sean. Oh, Sean, you need me to email this to you?
No, I have it. I didn't know. I didn't see the cue. I didn't know. Okay, so let's talk about True Fan Travel.
It's his first show. It's tough.
It's first show, and there was no little logo thing below my head and everything like that. And as someone just said in the chat, because I can see those, I can't stop yapping. So I'm definitely very disheveled right now. But let's talk about
your time's almost done now, so just cut her short.
Yeah, we're taking a trip to Vegas. Well, when I say we, I'm talking about our old friend John Anderson, who's getting a trip to Vegas because he is part of the Cowboy Show. So DLLS is taking over the Strip for an unforgettable weekend in Vegas, and you need to be there with John. Join us as the Cowboys take the Raiders on November 17th. It's an all-inclusive trip and includes a 3-night stay at a luxury Vegas resort, game tickets, VIP parties, exclusive events with the DLS crew, and fellow diehard fans, and much more. This is how Dallas does Vegas. You can book now at truefantravel.com. And again, if you go, you can bother producer John, ex-producer John, about his Boston Bruins in person. So go do that for us if you take this trip.
All right, let's talk about Shady Rays. You know that moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at a gas station 3 or 4 states away? Well, we've all been there. Or maybe they fell out of your pocket and they're on the driveway, but then they got scuffed up and destroyed on that, rough concrete or asphalt surface, or heck, maybe it's even a dirt road. Well, that's where Shady Rays is different, because these sunglasses are made for real life. Seriously good looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. And the wild part, of course, if you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now you can actually wear your sunglasses like I do without fear on hikes, concerts, on a boat, hanging out with Luds, because that's dangerous. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com. Use the code DLLS35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Hey, I don't know if he has it. How about that? I was going to ask Luds for a bing bong, but Elijah's on his game today. Super chat from Seth Eubank, which is an Oscar Beck or Brendan Morrow, and the year after the Cup. I've been seeing he's talking about Rasmus Anderson rumors around the Dallas trade. Do you think that would be a possibility, considering Neil has $27 million in projected cap space? I'm guessing that's for next year, along with having to re-sign Jason Robertson and Thomas Harley. So, guys, there's sort of 2 questions here. One is, should Dallas really be going after Rasmus Anderson, the longtime Calgary Flames right shot defender? And if they do go after him, is he somebody they could fit long-term into their contracts, which they've been giving a lot of money to their homegrown players? Luds?
Well, what's his salary right now? Or was it last year?
He's in the final year of a deal where he's making $4.5 million.
Okay.
So this year it's feasible, but he's a UFA after the summer.
I wonder. I wouldn't mind him. I wouldn't mind him as a player for sure. I mean, how is he? 30 yet? What is he?
29 now.
28.
Yeah.
Oh, he'll be 29 the start of the season.
Correct. Yeah. Yes.
But if that happens, then Nils is probably out of a job.
You think?
Well, I mean, are you moving Lyubushkin for him, or what are you doing? Because you're saying if Anderson comes in here, Nils has still got a job.
Well, I mean, you'd probably have to move Lyubushkin's contract to make it work.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so somebody would have to move, right?
Yeah.
Or Or it's part of the Jason Robertson
Robo
trade
deal?
talk that won't die. Or maybe it's the Jason Robertson trade that won't die. But
Yeah. Is there any legs to that, Sean? Yeah, that's more important to me. Is there even anything there, or is it just coming down to negotiations?
It's coming down to more so negotiation is what it is. Like, everyone keeps talking about this Jason Robertson deal and it not necessarily here, but everywhere else, people are like, oh, I could go trade 2 first-round picks and this prospect to get him. Like, that's not happening. If Jason Robertson gets traded, it's at the draft next year, and it's for it's part of a bigger deal next year. Like, Jason Robertson isn't getting traded during the season. I guess clip it right now, Elijah. You can dunk all over me whenever it does happen. But, like, Jason Robertson is a Dallas Star this season, and if plans change mid-season and something like that, maybe. But there's not the Stars selling and doing all of that stuff the way that people keep kind of talking about it is people trying to figure out what to talk about on July 14th.
Right.
Right.
I guess my thing on the Rasmus Andersson side of this is I would be happy to have him as part of the Dallas Stars blue line. No problem there.
Yeah.
The question is, what's it going to cost you? Because Dallas has used a lot of their high round draft picks for the next few years, and not that they need to hoard them, but there is still an importance of not giving up every first rounder from here to eternity. Right. And at some point you have to hope that some of the stuff you have that can develop, like whether it's Nils, whether it's, watching Liam Bichsel play a more expanded role. I just wonder what the cost is, because it's great to say, yeah, we'll take him as a rental, but what does Calgary want if they're trading him early in the season? Are they going to ask for him? Are they up against it because he doesn't want to resign, and maybe they don't have a leg to stand on in a negotiation like that?
Yeah,
I don't want anybody taking time away from Liam Bichsel. I think that I want to see him continue to play, and maybe, even if he starts in that 5-hole, 5-6, whatever you want to call it, I want to see him work his way up into 4. I just think that's where he's going to be, and the kind of player that he can be with his size and the willingness to be a presence out there. You got to have him more on the ice in 12, 14 minutes a night. I hope that happens.
I agree with Lutz on that, and that's why I hear this Rasmus Andersson talk, and I love the idea of adding Rasmus Andersson in February. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, I'd like to see what I would if you can elevate Liam Bichsel to a top 4 role this season. I think you've done yourself a service, and he's earned that spot. So, but if you bring in Andersson, it realistically stops him from getting that top 4 role this year, and then all of a sudden you don't know if Bischel's going. It's like, I am all about the Rasmus Andersson in-season trade talk, but let me see this team through October, November, December, and then let me see, okay, maybe Liam hasn't made that step, and then you need to go add him as a rental. Yeah. For me, it's I don't think it's worth the asset and the investment right now before the season starts, because I don't know if what it's going to. In this season, people are going to say I'm being crazy about, like, well, you want to be as good as possible. I think we have to accept that this team is not going to win the Central. We have to accept this team is not going to be this team is going to be a third place team in the division, maybe in that wild card spot. I think that's the reality, but we want to learn what this team is and what the steps are going to take. And I think there's greater long-term growth on the defensive end if Rasmus Andersson isn't shoehorned in here, and it's not about trying to convince Rasmus Andersson to stay, and it's about what do we have, and then, okay, maybe we can add to that, and maybe that's the thing we need. That's how I look at it.
The downside in that, if you get them up into that top 4, Sean, is that there's a guy or two are not going to be very good, because now there's 4 lefties up there, and I don't know, besides Miro, I'm not sure. It wouldn't be fair, obviously, to put Bichsel over there. So that moves. I don't know who it's going to be, Esser or Harley over there, but regardless, it would be a good problem to have if that's the case, especially in Liam's case.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we could talk about that for an entire show. Maybe we should continue that later this week. So let's think about that more. I want to play some stuff that I've been sitting for a while on, and I know it's rehashing stuff that feels like it's old news now, because it is. There's been a coaching change, but it is. But it was on our All-City National Hockey podcast, which is called What Chaos, with Pete Blackburn and DJ Bean. Ray Ferraro joined them shortly after the Western Conference Final, Game 5 specifically. And he had a couple of comments about being the guy in the middle, the broadcaster. So I want you guys to watch the first of two parts. We have two clips for you. And just give me your thoughts on what Ray Ferraro had to say going back to that Game 5 situation with Oettinger and DeBoer.
You, at the end of that series, gave us one of our favorite moments of the postseason. I don't know how it felt for you, but you sitting beside poor Jake Oettinger, and we have all of our thoughts on what went down there. But what's it like for you in that moment? Are you, like, it didn't seem like you had started to whisper or anything. Like, do you change what you do? How do you handle that moment?
You know what? One of the best pieces of broadcast, well, really one of the only ones I got when I started doing games, 20 plus years ago, was never forget how hard the game is. And I'm like, I said, oh yeah, thanks. And then I started to think about it and I'm like, damn, the game is hard. Like you can do everything right and it turn out wrong. So when I do a game, I think my only way to do it is to be as honest as I can, like with what I'm seeing. And I judge the act, not the actor, right? So I talk about the play, not so much the player. So when Oettinger got pulled, he went back to the locker room. The goalies go back there, they put their hat on, they kind of like regroup a bit. And then when he comes back out, one of the first things we show is like the 2 goals and then him getting pulled. Now, I'm well aware he's a foot away. And I don't, if this makes sense, I don't think about it. I just like, I'm going to do my job. And I hope to hell he knows that I'm being fair, that I'm being honest. Because at some point in there, I remember saying, like, the franchise goalie's sitting right here. I think he's a tremendous goalie. I understand why they pulled him, but I thought they were going to put him back in. My gut told me he was going to go back in after the first period. And at that moment, I don't know that DeBoer's going to bury him in the press conference either. Right? Like I didn't agree with that at all. Like however they've got to mend that fence, that's not like a one conversation thing unless Oettinger makes it that. Right? Like unless he goes, yeah, fine, forget it. We're not going to talk about it. It's not super comfortable talking about a player while he's sitting there.
Okay, so that's the first part. And I've got another clip, but there's two things there that really stood out to me. One was Lud's the advice. He said the game is way harder than it looks. And that's important to remember for everybody because it looks easier when you're sitting at the glass compared to on the ice. And it looks way easier the farther you get away, whether it's up in the press box, in the broadcast booth, or on television. And even us yokels like Sean and myself who have only played beer league and, high school hockey, we sit there when, maybe not now, but maybe when we were a little younger in the press box go, this game's pretty easy from this height. These guys aren't that big. And then you go down to the lower bowl or near the glass and you go, holy cow, it's fast. And wow, they're really big. Well, that's not even on the ice where you can actually get freight trained. And I love that advice from Ray is you have to always put back you can do everything right and still things cannot go your way. The puck won't bounce the right way. Somebody else makes a good play. And that's part of why I wanted to bring up this, not just the rehash, the Oettinger stuff, but just the other perspectives, even when you're that close to the game.
Yeah, I forgot. I think he forgot to add the part about when they go back into the locker room and regroup, they break 3 or 4 sticks on the way there, and they beat the hell out of a locker. Oh no, that was just Belfour. But I mean, I don't think that's the demeanor of Jake. But no, and the game is easier from everywhere except playing the game. I think it was just awkward for him to be sitting a foot away from him and thinking to yourself, do I just talk in my normal voice and the dude's going to hear everything that I'm saying? But he's right. And, and Jake is that kind of guy that probably, and from what I remember, I don't ever seeing him blink. I don't remember ever seeing Jake as much as he was on camera, look to his left, look to his right. He just stared straight ahead. Every once in a while, he may have glanced up at the clock, and he probably knew that he was on the Jumbotron, which meant he was on national TV at the same time. And he just wanted to keep his cool. So, no, in my opinion, Ray is one of the best in the business. Yeah, and I think he does
Agreed.
a fantastic job in that. And I played with Ray for a year, and he's always been a very intelligent guy. As a matter of fact, isn't he married to Cammie? He's married. Which one's he married to? Cammie? Yeah.
Renato, yeah. Yep.
And they got a house like 2 lakes from me here. All the grounds. And so anyway.
I love how the distances in Wisconsin are how many lakes separate you, but I completely relate.
Everything is by water.
Lakes and culvers. How many lakes, how many culvers do you pass?
Well, and empty beer cans. Like it's only a 12-pack ride to your house. So, we're going to need, Ring Daddy, my buddy, says to me this morning, we're going to play in this golf tournament next weekend. He goes, yeah, it's only about a case drive. We'll be okay. It's only 45 miles. We'll pick up a case. We'll make it. So,
I love it.
But it's, I would understand how I wouldn't be able to do what Ray did and talk straight ahead. I would turn my back somehow, so I don't think he's listening to me. I would feel bad about it. But everything he said is true. You just have to go on and go about your business and handle it the same way that he would.
All right. I'm going to play one more clip after the break as we continue here on the DLLS Stars podcast. But first, let's talk about the ball knower bonus. It is almost over, this new iteration. And when I say new, we've been talking about it for a little while. It's the challenge of who's going to win the Major League All-Star game, Major League Baseball All-Star game, which is tomorrow night, July 15th, at Truist Park in Atlanta. So here's what happens. You have to pick a winner. Who's going to win the game tomorrow? Then you browse our store, make a purchase of at least $25 or more. If your pick wins, you'll win a gift card for the same amount as your original order. Now, here's the important thing. You have to click on the link. It's either in the chat or it's in our show YouTube description so that you can then bet and get your gift card. So what you do, for all the ball knowers out there, make your pick, place an order, and if you pick who wins the MLB All-Star game tomorrow night correctly, you're going to get a gift card, easy for me to say, on us for the same amount as your order. That is the ball knower bonus. And speaking of ball knower bonus, the DLS Die Hard program is worthwhile, and then layer it into this. Because if you're a DLS Die Hard, you already get 20% off of merchandise. So why not buy some great DLLS merch at a discount and then win a free gift card because you got the ball knower bonus right? So in addition to that, of course, you get your first year subscription with a free t-shirt. So the Jake Oettinger shirt, as we continue to talk about Otter, the Finnish Mafia, the Wyatt 16-bit, Mikko Rantanen's finisher, the Captain and the Moose, all great options to being a DLS Stars fan. You can also get the regular ones. There's also a Cooper flag shirt that's really sharp that they just made, the cat flag captured. All of those great features. And of course, being a diehard, you get access to all the writing that is on all of our websites. You have, of course, the connection with Sean, Cowboys, Rangers, Mavs, of course, and Stars, and 6am. All right, one more clip for you guys. So check this out. This was the other part I clipped from the What Chaos. Here's what Ray was talking about with Jake Oettinger and that Game 5.
It's the best place to do a game, I think, by far. I just love it. But there are times, and when Jake was sitting there, it's uncomfortable for sure, man. I'm talking about him, and he's sitting right there.
So I did want to clarify. So you've got the monitor right in front of you. So when you say that they are showing the last 2 goals, Jake's sitting there next to you, and he can see clear as day, well, this is about me.
Oh, absolutely. Like when the goalie sits there, right to the left is the bench. Now they're sitting on a stool, right? And I mean, he's 6'5" or whatever he is. So he's a big dude anyway, but they can't see down in the corner. Like I can lean out a little bit and see. They can't do that. So some of the games, he's just watching it on the monitor in front of me. And so when we go to the highlight, I mean, there's a whistle, there's nothing to watch. So he's just watching to see what the highlights are. And, oh yeah, guess what? It's you again. And I wanted to tell him, I'm not picking this, right? I'm not saying, hey, let's show Jake give up 2 goals again. Like it's not necessarily my choice, right? We're trying to tell the story to people that are coming to the game late. Like some people might tune in and they're like, what the hell's Casey DeSmith doing in there? And you gotta tell the story, right?
You got to tell the story. And he and Sean McDonough, who was doing play-by-play for ESPN on that game, were having a bit of an argument or a discussion, I guess, about whether or not you should pull Oettinger in that situation. And I remember watching this back, and Ray's trying to kind of explain why he thinks DeBoer is doing it, and McDonough's adamant, you go with your franchise guy. And Luds, I don't know if you remember or if they ever had a broadcaster between the benches when you were playing, because it felt like it was something that's changed maybe in the last 10 or 15 years, if I'm not totally mistaken. I don't remember. Was it Darren Pang who was the first one between them? Somebody like that, maybe because they felt like he could fit down there at the time. They've made it a little bit
who's that other little guy that ended up getting a job in Ottawa?
Oh, it was Pierre. That's right.
Pierre McGuire.
Yes, that's right.
It was with the NBC. The NBC deal was one of the first one coming out of the old OLN network.
Yes, Outdoor Life Network, before it became Versus.
Yeah, that's when, and it was actually, it was after OLN, after Versus, NBC. When NBC took on the deal, that's when that became a norm in the league.
Don't you remember that was a different time? That's the last place an announcer wanted to be, was between the benches. There's you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of things that happened between the benches. I mean,
there was a lot of danger down there.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree with all of that. But and again, like I said about Ray, it's got to be a tough scenario there, but I do love the part that he threw in there, because I brought it up and I said they're going to put him back in. But there were so many people said they're never going to you pull a goalie, you never do that. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out who these people are, because I've been there. They've done it. They've never seen it. It's never happened when they pull a goal. Yeah, they do. You get a bit. You don't waste the time. Most coaches don't waste a timeout and pull a goaltender.
Same.
It's kind of another way of saving your timeout, as a matter of fact. But then you kind of just slow the game down a little bit, and it doesn't even necessarily mean you have to wait to the end of the period. It could be 5 minutes later you throw them back in there. It's just to take a breath for everybody.
I think honestly, it's something where I think, now this is at this was a much lower level for me. I never played at a pro level or anything like that, but I had a coach that, had no issue pulling a goalie 2 minutes into the game and telling you to get.
You're looking at one right there too.
Yep. I had 2 minutes into a game and he told me, get my head right. I was high school, playing high school hockey. We're playing a rivalry game, and I went and misplayed a puck in the corner. I was just all over the place. And next whistle, he pulled me out. He's like, you're going back in, but you'll be right back here if you don't. And that was, you talk about just
Sean, that's the right way to do it. Like, they got to tell you right away. Yeah, I did it. And the only reason I did it, I've only done it one time, and it was in Buffalo. It was our U18s. I didn't like the kids warm up. I hated it. And I even said to Addie, the other coach, I'm like, dude's not ready. And so, and I just said, Addie, he's the head coach. That's not even my responsibility. But he let that first shot in. I swear to God, it wasn't 30 seconds. And Addie looked at me and he kind of went like that. And I just screamed at him. I said, get over here. And then, put the other kid in. But I told him the same thing. I said, I'm just telling you, you weren't ready to go, but you're going right back in. We waited 5 minutes or so. And I think he got better as the game went along. But I think it's just a lesson for the kids. If nothing more, it's just a lesson for the kid. We can kind of tell, goaltenders in warm-up. Sean, I don't know. Some goaltenders just want to sit there and get hit with the puck. Okay, that's fine. There's other goalies that want to work a little bit harder and make certain saves and all that other kind of stuff. And you kind of get to know what their routine is. I hate the goaltender, but I stay away from for the most part. That just stand there and want to get hit with. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, but not my thing. Well, but when you know a guy and you've seen him in warm-ups and he's kind of doing this and that, and then you watch him another time and you're like, I don't know. And it could have been one of those early morning games. I don't remember what time of the day it was, but anyway, so it happened, and I think the kid was better.
No, but Luds, you're 100% right. Sometimes it takes the shock to the system if you don't get your norm, right? Like for me, even now in beer league, when you only get 3 minutes of warm-ups, my bigger thing is, am I just catching pucks? Like that's how I know I'm dialed in or not. Am I catching pucks? Am I holding pucks? Am I putting rebounds in the right direction in warm up? And that's the thing that I know whether I'm doing that right or wrong. And if you're working with a goalie and working with a team like you have, you pick up on what their tendencies are. You can be like, hey, he had a great game today. You're going to log what happened. And I think there's too often in this, like, we don't do that in hockey. Like, why? There's no rule that says you can't do it. You could go back, you could go back and forth all over the place. So it's
So,
but don't you think they kind of took advantage of, I think who was in Iron Mike? I think he took advantage of that more often than anybody, because he would pull a goalie 7 minutes in, put him back in. Then he'd do it again. Then he'd do it again. And I don't think there's any coaches that do that anymore. And I thought if they did, there would end up being, hey, you can only pull a goalie and put him in a couple times or something.
Well, the position has become too overcoached and too overcoddled. Basically, it's the thing where every single there's the goalie coach was great, and there's part of it that was really good to have someone there who understands the position, but a goalie coach is not supposed to be the person who defends the goalie at all costs. You're supposed to be the honest person. You're supposed to be able to say, hey, this guy sucks, get him out of here today. Like, and I think there's a lot of places where head coaches are sometimes scared to go against the goalie coach when you just need to have an honest communication about it. Like I talked to Bill Ranford about it a couple weeks back when he's now the director of goalie coaching with LA, and he talked about kind of they've gone through a couple of years now where they've had the different starter for different playoff games, right, with the setup. And he said it's one of the things is you learned rather quickly as a goalie coach that if the head coach thinks you're just defending the goalie and not being honest about what you should and shouldn't be doing, you're not going to be in a job really long. So if you're changing if a goalie is not focused to start a game, you should be able to use that tool. It's just like if a defenseman is not, like, just like if you're coaching a defenseman or a forward, hey, they're not ready. All right, well, you're not on the first power play today. Get off, right? Like those are tools that should be applied to the position. And like so often, like one of my favorite things I ever heard about goaltending, one of the big pushbacks is it's become too much of, oh, you're goalies. No, you're still an athlete. You need to play the game. You still need to be treated like everyone else. So still be an athlete about it. So,
bang, bing. Oh, we have a super chat.
Oh.
So let's go to Ardell about the Ben brothers. What capacity? Oh, wait, excuse me. He's got a Jamie Benn and a Jordy Benn, the 1458. What capacity does Jordy Benn work for the Dallas Stars? Can you see him working with this franchise long term? I've heard an interview with him and was impressed with how articulate he was. Now, we all know Jordy very well, and we all know him from different parts of the Stars organization. So we'll go across the screen. So we'll start with Sean in terms of what you see from Jordy in his player development role.
He's working player development, also doing some scouting. He definitely enjoys it in Dallas. Him and Jamie both plan to, unless it changed since the last time I talked to Jordy 6 months ago, him and Jamie don't really have any plans to ever kind of leave the area. So that's, so I think Jordy's one of the things I really like about Jordy and the way he works with young players and coaches guys up is his background. And it's he played for a team called the Victoria Salmon Kings in the ECHL, and then was played with Allen and worked his way up. I think there's a lot he can bring about how his career arc really took off. And honestly, I think the biggest disservice to Jordy's career, sometimes perception-wise, is that he's the same last name as Jamie. Like if Jordy's last name wasn't Ben, there were more people that would be like, oh my God, this guy's story is incredible. I think there's times that Jamie's success in natural talent takes away from what Jordy accomplished in his career. And that's a great thing to have around players. He understands how to communicate with, it's mostly defensemen he works with, but he understands how to communicate with everyone. So
for me, he's the perfect kind of guy to have with your American League team, or if you want him to go with junior kids. Only because of everything that Sean said, where it's his path. Who can't he relate to? I mean, the player that's having a hard time staying in the lineup, a player that's having a hard time getting in the lineup, a player that's in the lineup on every night, but is getting ready to fall out of the lineup because he's taking things for granted, or the player that is the best player and he's going to move up at some point. I just, all over the map, I would think that from a coach's standpoint, again, in Dallas here, Bob gave me a room upstairs just for players to come and vent at times, but that was on a different kind of level. But for Jordy, I would think that he would be such an important guy. And as a coach, if you're not getting through to a player, Jordy, I need you to go to talk to this guy. Don't tell him what I said. Just ask him how things are going and, let him talk to you. And then let's see if we can figure it out. I think he's in a great spot. It's mainly with the young kids.
Guys, we are out of time. So we will obviously be able to carry things over. Tomorrow's show will be a special 7 p.m. broadcast because we're doing this as part of DLS Rank Week. We are going to be broadcasting our what if top 10 Dallas Stars what if moments. So obviously some hypotheticals, and we'll hear from both Sean and Luds. We'll see about Sam because he may still be sick. We'll see. And that's going to be at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time, right here on our DLLS Stars YouTube channel. So
that cuts into the last 3 hours of our happy hour here in Wisconsin. We go from noon to 9 happy hours.
How long is the 6 hour happy hour in Wisconsin?
9 hours.
That's perfect. All right. Well, we'll be back tomorrow again, not at our normal time, but at 7. And then on Wednesday, we're back at 2 o'clock Central Time. So for Craig Ludwig, Sean Shapiro, our producer, Elijah Smith, I'm Owen Newkirk. We'll talk to you tomorrow night for our top 10 what ifs here on DLLS.
We all silly like the mayor.